Picture a stage, two podiums, a bright, hot light. One person has just made a careful, quiet point. They take a sip of water. Then, the other person leans into the microphone, and it begins. They don't make an argument. They unleash a storm, a torrent of words. The study from 1998 was flawed, your source is biased, the numbers were misreported by a factor of 3, and you're ignoring the socioeconomic data from Finland, not to mention the B23 protocol, which was never ratified, and the committee's original findings, which were suppressed. On and on it goes. A list of accusations, half-truths, jargon, and phantom facts. 10, then 20 points in 30 seconds. The first person just stands there, frozen. How do you even begin to answer that? Which thread do you pull? If you pick one, you let the other 19 go. You let them stand as if they were true. If you try to address them all, you'll run out of time, sounding frantic and confused. The audience shifts in their seats. The silence of the first speaker feels like a weakness. The flood of words from the second speaker sounds like authority. This isn't a debate, it's an ambush. It's a trick of persuasion designed to overwhelm the mind, to bury truth under a mountain of nonsense. It has a name. It's called the Gish Gallop. The Gish Gallop is simple in its design. It's a technique where someone tries to win an argument by overwhelming their opponent with as many claims as possible, without any regard for accuracy or logic, or even if they make sense. The goal isn't to be correct. The goal is to make the other person look unable to respond. It works by attacking a weak spot in our own minds. Our brain has a little shortcut. When it hears a long list of reasons, it tends to think, wow, that's a lot of evidence. There must be something to it. We mistake the quantity of arguments for the quality of the argument. It's a flaw in our wiring. But there's a deeper, more unfair reason it's so effective. It exploits what some people call the asymmetry of nonsense. Think about it. It takes 10 seconds to make a wild claim. The moon is a hologram projected by the government. But it takes 10 minutes to carefully and methodically explain why that isn't true. You have to talk about physics, astronomy, history, and evidence. The person making the nonsense claim only needs speed. The person refuting it needs time, patience, and facts. The Gish Gallop is built on this imbalance. It's a race the liar almost always wins because they don't have to carry the weight of truth. The name itself comes from a man named Dwayne Gish. He was a creationist who, back in the 70s and 80s, would debate scientists about evolution. The scientists would come armed with fossils, genetic evidence, and years of research. They were ready for a careful, honest discussion. They were not ready for the Gish Gallop. Gish would step up to the podium and unleash a fire hose of claims. He'd talk about gaps in the fossil record, misinterpretations of data, quotes taken out of context, dozens and dozens of points, all fired off at high speed. The scientists were stunned. By the time they picked one of his claims to refute, and did so carefully, with evidence, their time was up. Gish would then stand up and say, "You see, he couldn't answer my other 29 points. I must be right." And to an audience that didn't know better, it worked. He wasn't winning on science, he was winning on performance. He buried his opponents in words. He made them look slow and evasive, simply because they couldn't clean up his mess fast enough. You might think this is just for formal debates or TV arguments, but it's not. This happens in your life. You just don't have a name for it. Think about a meeting at work. A bad decision has been made, and a manager is defending it. You ask a simple question: why did we cut this project? The manager doesn't give you one clear reason. Instead, they Gish Gallop. Well, we had to consider the Q3 budget shortfalls, the new directives from corporate, the shifting market dynamics, the feedback from the beta testing group, the need to reallocate resources to the Greenfield initiative, and the vendor supply chain issues. The words just keep coming. You walk away from that conversation feeling dizzy. You didn't get an answer. You got a smokescreen. You can't fight a fog. The confusion is the point. It protects them from being accountable for any one single thing. It happens in our personal lives too. And here, it's far more painful. You're in a fight with your partner. Maybe it started over something small. Who is supposed to take out the trash? But then it turns. They don't stick to the point. They start listing things. Every mistake, every small hurt. You didn't take out the trash, and you were late last Tuesday, and you never listen when I talk about my day, and I still can't believe what you said to my mother at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, and you always leave your shoes in the hallway. Suddenly, you're not arguing about the trash anymore. You're defending your entire character, your entire history in the relationship. You're being Gish Galloped. The goal is no longer to solve a problem. The goal is to win by making you feel crushed. It's an act of emotional exhaustion. It's a way to shut you down, to make you surrender because you simply don't have the energy to fight on so many fronts at once. It's the conversational equivalent of throwing a plate of spaghetti at a wall and demanding someone account for each individual noodle. It's impossible, and they know it. So how do you defend against it? The obvious answer seems to be, just pick one of their points and prove it wrong. But it's not that simple. Your own mind will fight you on it. This is the strange part. To beat the Gish Gallop, you have to be willing to look like you're losing, at least for a moment. When you ignore 19 of their points to focus on just one, it feels like you're conceding. It feels like you're letting them get away with it. The person doing it will even accuse you of it. You're ignoring all my other evidence. That feeling of weakness is the trap. The Gish Galloper is counting on you to feel that pressure. They want you to get frantic, to try and fight on their terms on their battlefield of noise. You have to refuse. The first step is to do nothing. Stop. Breathe. Let their storm of words hang in the air. Let the silence stretch. In a world of noise, silence is power. It makes them look desperate, and it gives you a moment to think. You are showing that you will not be rushed. Next, you name the game. Don't attack their points. Attack the method. You can say calmly, that was a lot of information at once. You just made about 10 different claims. We can't possibly discuss them all. You're not fighting them. You're guiding the conversation back to reality. Then comes the most important move. You don't pick a point to argue, you make them do it. You put the spotlight back on them. Ask a simple question. Out of everything you just said, what do you believe is your single strongest point? Watch what happens. Often they can't answer, or they won't, because their power wasn't in any single point. The power was in the flood. Their arguments are like a swarm of insects, annoying and overwhelming together, but fragile and meaningless on their own. By forcing them to choose one, you're taking away their real weapon, which was never facts. It was volume. Of course, this assumes they are being strategic. Sometimes it's not a tactic, it's just panic. A person who feels cornered might just throw every thought they have at you, hoping something will save them. It's not always a sign of a manipulator. Sometimes it's just a sign of a person who's afraid. Knowing the difference changes how you respond. The Gish Gallop doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's connected to other flaws in our thinking. It's a form of cognitive overload. Our brains can only handle so much information at once. This trick is a deliberate attack on that limit. It's the same reason legal contracts are so long and confusing, or why a fast-talking salesperson can make you agree to something you don't understand. They are all flooding your brain to shut down its critical thinking center. It also works hand in hand with the straw man fallacy. Many of the points thrown out in a Gish Gallop are distorted, weak, or twisted versions of reality. They are little straw men, easy to build and easy to throw. The sheer number of them makes it impossible to show how each one is hollow. And finally, it flips the entire idea of the burden of proof. In a normal, rational discussion, the person making the claim has to provide the evidence. The Gish Gallop reverses this. They make 100 claims with no evidence, and suddenly, the burden is on you to disprove all of them. It's an abuse of the rules of reason. This tactic was perfected in face-to-face debates, but now it has found its perfect home. The Internet. We now live in the age of the digital Gish Gallop. It has mutated. You see it in a tweet storm. Someone posts 20 rapid-fire, out-of-context screenshots or gotcha claims. No single tweet is a solid argument, but the combined effect feels overwhelming. Any attempt to correct one is immediately buried by the next 10. You see it in conspiracy videos that list 50 unanswered questions without ever trying to build one coherent theory. They aren't creating an argument. They are creating a feeling of doubt by burying you in volume. You see it in online comment sections, where a single person can flood a discussion with dozens of links to low-quality blogs and junk science, creating the illusion of massive evidence. The Internet rewards speed and volume over slowness and truth. It's the perfect environment for this kind of thinking to thrive. And it's getting worse. Imagine a future where an AI can generate 1,000 plausible-sounding but completely false arguments in a single second. A personalized Gish Gallop delivered directly to you, designed to exploit your specific doubts and fears. How can anyone fight that? You can't fact-check an ocean. The only defense will be to stop looking at the individual drops of water. You have to learn to recognize the shape of the wave itself. The pattern is the poison, not the details. The Gish Gallop is not a tool for finding truth. It is a weapon for silencing it. It's a performance meant to look like intelligence, a flood meant to look like evidence. But it relies on one thing: your willingness to be rushed, your fear of looking slow, your instinct to fight on their terms. The defense is not to talk faster. It is to become calmer. It is to find the one single point of clarity in a hurricane of noise and hold on to it. It's about refusing to play a game where the only prize is confusion. The world is getting louder. The flood of information and misinformation is rising. The Gish Gallop is no longer just a trick used on a debate stage. It's starting to sound like the background noise of our lives. And in a world where everyone is shouting, how do you find a voice you can trust? Or do you just end up listening to whoever shouts the loudest?